Alright everyone, Cowboy Trades here, welcome back to the channel for another update on GalaGames. So, GalaGames is currently trading beneath this monumental support structure on the weekly time frame with less than 48 hours until we put in a new weekly close. What happens if we close beneath this specific level? What would my price targets be? And also, while all of this is looming in the charts, we have the weekly MACD looking like it's ready to put in its first bearish cross, coming into Monday of next week. What does this mean for the price of GalaGames? Let's find out in the video. Starting off with the higher time frames, what I really want to quickly highlight in this chart is that as we have been witnessing the breakdown for the past few weeks for GalaGames, we've now fallen into an area on our volume profile chart where we have little to no liquidity and volume traded within this market structure. You can see for the most part, if we look at this big cluster of volume down here, since around about June of 2022, we've spent 90% of the time trading within this exact structure. When we broke down from this structure, knee-jerk reaction down. As we were ready to bounce from this structure, as there's little liquidity, it only requires a small amount of volume to ping the price up and have these knee-jerk reactions. So what's going to happen if we fall to the downside of this? We could potentially be setting up another brutal knee-jerk reaction. And while all of this is happening, we do have the stochastic RSI coming down to almost about zero. So support could potentially be found soon, right? Well, let's look at the exact level that the stochastic RSI is at right now. And then let's look at previous times where the stochastic RSI, specifically the short-term moving average, the blue trend line, has reached this zero counterpart and how far the price had to drop from this level of support. So first of all, as you can see, the blue moving average is still around about 8 on the stochastic RSI. The long-term moving average is all the way up at 20. So it's safe to say that we've probably got about another week or two until we come down to this previous level, which if I expand or if I contract this, you can see if I put a green trend line over on this chart here, basically when we come down to zero, this has always been where the stochastic RSI finds a major area of support. Very, very little and often do we find support slightly above this structure. So if we assume that we're going to come back down to zero for the blue moving average on the stochastic RSI, and we look at what's previously happened when the stochastic RSI has bottomed around about this level, you can see obviously we had this major breakdown. Stock only just loaded in here as it bottomed, but what happened is you can see the price still had further to move to the downside. In fact, we broke 52 to 53% to the downside before we were ready to have that dead cat bounce that was called by this bullish crossover on the stock. You can see over here, of course, short-term moving average hits zero before the long-term moving average. Does that mean a bottom came straight away? No, we actually dropped 85% before seeing that bounce, and we spent a very, very long time just bleeding out at this zero region. If we come over to our next data point coming into September of 2022, once again, blue moving average found the support at the zero line. We did continue to break down a little bit, had a dead cat bounce, but then as you can see, we just completely got absolutely annihilated. We really had a tiny dead cat bounce, and also if we're looking at the time, you know, we had a dead cat bounce here, we came back down to zero here. We proceeded to put in about a 40% drop from this zero line of support once again. So like I said, you know, we're not actually at this zero line yet. The stochastic RSI still has further to break down until we get to this area that was previous support for all of these data points. So even if we're conservative and we say that, you know, it's just going to rocket down into next week, and I don't particularly think we're ready to, you know, hit the zero line next week. I think it's more likely that we hit, you know, around about the 22nd of May, mainly due to the fact that we haven't, you know, obviously we've been moving down pretty bad this week. If we look at start to finish, we're down about 6 to 7% for GalaGames. But, you know, the week before this, we put in a pretty brutal candle and we only moved from about 33 down to 20. So I still think we've got about another week or two worth of continuation. And if we're looking at previous data points, you can see 52% drops, 85% drops. This was a 62% drop. This was a 38% drop. On average, it's safe to say that the drops are well over 50%. And even if we just look at where we are right now, drawing another 50% correction, you could potentially see that GalaGames could be coming down into new bear market lows. Now, this is just a rough estimate, and this is just an idea that I have, nothing 100% precise about this one. So let's dive into some charts that actually have very specific price targets, and we'll dive into a little bit more detail what is actually happening. So if we come over to this chart over here, what I really wanted to highlight is the MACD on the weekly time frame is about to have that bearish cross. Now, we did briefly touch on this in our last video 2 days ago, talking about how that bearish cross was coming. We have obviously started to move down a little bit more since then. If we do come back over to the daily time frame, come out over here, yeah, this was about 2 days ago. We did move from about 3.1 down to about 2.7, and we've now had a dead cat bounce back up. I'm going to talk about where we've dead cat bounced up to in just 1 second. But yeah, what I really want to highlight very quickly is the MACD on the weekly time frame is literally looking like on Monday, this could have its first bearish cross. And considering how, when we look at the charts, we're at a very critical level right now, potentially pending a breakdown, this is not going to fare well for the price. Now, one other thing I do want to add about this is there are, of course, different MACD charts that you can have over on TradingView. If you do type in MACD, there's tons of community ones. And of course, there is the specific TradingView one, moving average convergence divergence. That is what the MACD is. Prior to using this TradingView one, I actually used this one over here called the CM Alt MACD. I've noticed that sometimes this crosses bullish and bearish quicker than the regular MACD, so it just gives you a little bit of insight into, you know, maybe a week's worth in advance when the other MACD on the weekly time frame is going to cross. And as we highlighted in the previous video, this has already crossed bearish, so this may be letting us know that next week the MACD, the TradingView MACD, is actually going to cross bearish. So let's talk about this monumental level that we've just broken beneath. Well, as we've been discussing on the channel, we do have this beautiful M pattern developing. It's been developing since all the way back at the start of the year. Absolutely picture perfect M pattern. And if we come over to the daily time frame, you can see, you know, we had touch points here, but the last line of support on the neckline is right here at 3 cents precisely. Now, if we look at what's happened, we've had a bearish engulfing candle underneath this structure. We then had a bounce all the way back up here. We got rejected on these lows, and if we draw the box up a little bit higher, it's potential that, you know, we kind of came back up to these previous wicks, these candle body closes, this candle body close. Nonetheless, this is just a rough draft. Really, the main trend line that matters is this final low point right down here. But nonetheless, I digress. We did pump up into this green box. We got a rejection, broke back down. We pumped back up and retested the lower bound of this green box. And currently, we're sitting beneath this crucial structure right now. If you are a bull on GalaGames, you will absolutely be hoping that we close the weekly candle above 3 cents. Because if we do not, what are we going to be doing? We're going to be breaking beneath this support structure and potentially confirming this M pattern. So what do I think is going to happen? Well, I think it's much more important right now to react to what happens in the price action over the weekend rather than predict. But if you put a gun to my head, I would be saying I do think GalaGames is going to close at/below this 3 cent region. At which point would I be predicting an instant nuke down to the downside? No, I wouldn't be predicting an instant nuke. This is mainly because of what's happening in the Bitcoin chart. If we look at Bitcoin right now, we've reverted back to this huge zone, which was support all throughout this major distribution phase at the top of the bull run. And this was obviously broken down, flipped as resistance, and we've come back into this and made a lower high from when we previously came into this box. And since then, we've been breaking down to the downside. But on the weekly time frame, you can see we've pinged all the way down and found support. I'm hesitant to say support because obviously it's only been a day or so. We could nuke through this in the next few days, but temporarily at least, we came down to the 200-week moving average and found support. So what is most crucial for GalaGames is, number one, to look at Bitcoin. If Bitcoin starts falling beneath 26,000 and losing the 200-week moving average as support, then Obviously, we're going to come down to this price target of the M pattern at 1.4 cent. Until that happens, really keep your eyes on this range for Bitcoin between 28,000. If it's below 28,000, you can obviously lean more bearish because we've rejected from this major box. If we're still above this 26,000 zone, you can obviously lean slightly bullish because we're above the 200-week moving average. Right now, I think things are pretty neutral between bears and bulls as we decide what to do within this tight range. So coming into next week, how Bitcoin reacts to this range is very, very important. That's why I say it's very important right now for GalaGames, maybe not to focus too much on predicting, but rather reacting to what's going to be happening with the weekly close around 3 cent for Gala, and also what happens to Bitcoin next week between this tight range. With that being said though, what do I personally predict? I think that we are going to close at / around 3 cent, right on the resistance, and then I kind of expect Bitcoin and Gala to do a little bit of chopping while it decides what to do within this tight range for the rest of the markets, at which point I do think GalaGames is going to potentially maybe do something like this. Let's say we break down in the next few days to around about 2.8 cent, at which point we could potentially pump back up to 3 cent, maybe even as high as 3.2 cent before confirming this previous M pattern neckline as resistance, at which point we could see a very, very brutal move to the downside, especially if Bitcoin starts coming back down to 26,000 and losing 26,000. If Bitcoin loses 26,000 again next week, Gala is absolutely going to come down to this M pattern price target at 1.4 cents. So that's kind of what I see in the lower time frames. If we're looking at the liquidity swings, looking at trapped liquidity from the Lux algo, you can see that we actually did have quite a bit of trapped liquidity down here for GalaGames. And, you know, this is another reason why we may just spend a little bit more time trading around here. We've obviously grabbed liquidity here. There's a lot going on in this zone beneath 3 cent. So keep your eyes on that weekly close. And in the last video, I'll touch on this for anyone who's new. We talked about this beautiful, beautiful fractal developing for GalaGames. I'll absolutely fly through this because we've covered it before. As you can see, this was previous resistance, this was previous support. So we formed this trend line, we made a big M pattern, we broke beneath it, flipped it as resistance, broke down, found a new trend line. So you can see, you know, you found a trend line, you made an M pattern, you broke down. You found a new trend line, you made an M pattern, flipped it as resistance, just like you did over here, you broke down. What happened then? You broke down, you found a new trend line, you broke back up, you made an M pattern. What do you think is going to happen? I mean, every single time, I don't even need to draw the M patterns on this. You can clearly see with these major meltdowns after these M patterns that we hit the price target every single time. If this fractal is going to play out, something like this is going to happen where we're going to break beneath this. We're going to retest this previous structure as support. And then we're going to continue breaking down until we find a new level of support for GalaGames. So where could that support potentially come from? Well, in the immediate short term, let's look at this tight range. As we said, the neckline of this M pattern is around about 3 cent. If we do draw our Fibonacci's from low to high, as Bitcoin is trading beneath this tight range right now, 28,000 to 26,000, GalaGames is also in a similar situation where you can see this M pattern neckline and the 786 Fibonacci right here, your literal last line in the sand. If we take this out for GalaGames, there is no support until we come down to new bear market lows. Literally no support. There is like one other support, which is this range low SFP at 2 cent. But, you know, really, I don't think this is going to be too important anymore. If Bitcoin loses 26,000, Gala is going to rush down to these lower prices. So keep your eyes on this tight range for GalaGames, 3 cent to 2.5. If we lose 2.5, in my opinion, it is pretty much over, and GalaGames is going to continue breaking down. With that being said, what are my price targets in the higher time frame? As we've been looking at in the macro, this WXY double free structure for the Elliott wave theory is beautifully playing out. We are in that final A, B, C. So this final C wave should take us down for one more macro move. And where could this line up with the psychological price target? The 1.618 Fibonacci, the listing price on major exchanges. All of these and more is kind of letting us know that we could be coming down to 1 cent. There's a lot going on at 1 cent. It is, like I said, not only a psychological price target, but we have a Fibonacci 1.618 on this exact level. If you're wondering, you know, why this is drawn a little bit weird on this structure, it's because it's drawn on the daily time frame. When you're drawing it on the weekly, it looks really weird, but it is just a fib from low to high from one of these swings. This is really what I have my eyes on right now. And from the most recent swing low to swing high, we do have a 1.236 down here at 0.004. But like I say, let's take things one price target at a time. I don't think we'll be coming all the way down to here in the immediate short term, mainly due to how the stochastic RSI has been reacting. So, really what I think in the immediate short term is we have enough room to move down to this 1 cent region. This would be about a 64% drop, which pretty much beautifully lines up with how the stochastic RSI has acted in previous times that we've come down to these data points. And once again, I do want to highlight, like I said at the start of the video, on average, these drops are a little bit over 50%, maybe 50 to 60%, but that is once the stock hits zero. We haven't hit that yet. We've got more room to move down to zero for the stock before we even start measuring this next move to the downside. So with that being said, my friends, GalaGames is probably going to come down to 1 cent sooner than you think. That's all I've got for this video. Remember to keep your eyes on this tight range. For Bitcoin, it's 28 to 26. For GalaGames, it's 3 cent to 2.5 cent. I expect a lot of chop within this range. And like I said, it's more important to react to what is happening with these zones right now rather than predict what's going to be happening. So if you are trading this structure, keep your eyes on a weekly candle body close beneath 3 cent. If that does happen and we get a volume confirmed rejection, flipping this zone as resistance and coming back down, that could line up for a nice short for GalaGames. Do bear in mind, I don't trade GalaGames. I just update it in the macro because I'm more interested in DCAing this when I do believe the lows are in. I don't particularly trade lower market cap altcoins. I know GalaGames, someone's going to comment like, oh my god, GalaGames is not a low market cap altcoin. It's too low of a market cap for me. I've also noticed in the past that, you could have beautiful TA beautifully playing out for GalaGames, and then all of a sudden they tweet something on Twitter that a new game is coming out or a new update is coming out, and then boom, you just have these either buy the rumor, sell the news, the price either pumps or dumps depending on these quick news articles, because the market cap is just so low relative to other altcoins that I trade, like Solana, etc. That a news article can absolutely melt the price of GalaGames very, very quickly. This is one of the reasons I don't trade this. I'm just letting you know what I think is going to be happening within this market structure. So for the day, my friends, that's all I've got. As always, if you do enjoy my content, let me know down below by leaving a like and a comment. Share the videos with your friends. If you want to further support the channel, feel free to click the join button and become a member today. Follow me over on Twitter at 618_cowboy. I'll leave it here. Spin your boy Cowboy Trades. I'm out. Peace.